Yeah.
really, and the second album was, what was it, Charity Ball? Was it Charity Ball?
I think so.
So, I mean, Charity Ball really,
That was like a hit, kind of, pretty much.
well,
right? Sort of. It charted.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
it was top 40. But
Yeah.
for me, the inside story to that is that we had an attorney, Abe Summer. He was like the biggest attorney in L.A., and he was having a New Year's Eve party and a new girlfriend, and this girlfriend asked him to disinvite us because she didn't want a bunch of, 4 chicks there who were with no boyfriends,
Yeah.
to be near her boyfriend. Anyway, so she had him disinvite us, and so we were sitting around our kitchen table going, fuck you, fuck you. That's really what we did, and we took that into Charity Ball in the studio.
Interesting.
So that's an interesting story. But for
Yeah.
me, the song that typifies that album is Thinking of You, because I was starting to try to integrate stuff that I heard in the 50s that had kind of jazzy chords, and I love that song even now. I think it's fantastic.
In your guitarisms, did you ever take any formal studies, or just it's all the people that you ran into, you watched them intently, you picked up,
I
transsuited?
think I did it better because I was doing it 24/7, and everyone I met, I was a sponge with.
Yeah.
And that would not have happened just going to school, you know.
Yeah, and the hours, like a day in the life of June Millington back
Yeah.
then. You've got your guitar on, and you're practicing 5, 6, 10 hours a day, right? And you're
Yeah.
playing every
All
day,
the time, yeah.
all the time.
You couldn't get a date with June Millington because she wasn't interested.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested. I didn't even know I was gay. I didn't know that whole thing, so I just worked,
Yeah.
One thing I want to mention is in early '68, which was the year that, later that year, we went down to L.A. and played at the Troubadour, and Richard Secretary's, Perry Secretary saw us, and blah, blah, blah. That's all the true story. But I saw Jimi Hendrix at the Fillmore, and we did a gig with Sly and the Family Stone up at Lake Tahoe, which we did gigs there all the time. That was our playground.
Sure.
And nobody was there. Nobody knew Sly and the Family Stone. So I got my sort of like my, oh my God, it was more than a tutorial, it was my dissertation or whatever. They'd finished their sound check, and that was great. And I don't know if everyone was just talking to each other. He just sat on an amp, and he just was doodling on guitar. And I'm like, I got really quiet, and I got really into it. And I feel like I got like a particular slice of how you do that. You do that. It's funk, but it's not funk. It's outside. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
And I've been chasing that ever since, And plus, when we were down in L.A. doing, which was, I think Badge was on the first one. So we were working on Badge, and Lowell George was coming around, and Sly was recording there,
Unbelievable.
So we had nice guests stop by the studio.
Yeah. I listened to Badge, and you can hear a distinctive harmonic thing on the voices too, the harmonies. Like you can listen to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, or the Bee Gees, or the Beatles. There's a harmonic kind of color.
Plus the words. I know you don't think of it this way, but those words, I feel, were written for girls.
Interesting.
We claimed that song.
Yeah.
Yes, I told you not to. That's what your father does, and your boyfriend. I told you not to.
Yeah.
Watch out when the guy's in the park and all that kind of stuff.
That little breakdown centerpiece, I don't know if it's true. I guess was the picked out chord thing going through the Leslie. That was supposedly George Harrison playing on that track with Clapton.
No. Oh, on the original?
On the original.
Oh, yeah.
But I just wanted to say, your version of it was very powerful and strong. And it's hard sometimes when you have a classic made by the original, and someone else comes and
No, I
tries.
think ours is better.
Yours is
Same
really
with Hey
incredible.
Bulldog. Our version
Yeah.
of Hey Bulldog
Yeah,
is better.
we listened to that on the way over here.
We
Yeah.
own that song too. I mean, if a song took ownership of us, then we gave it homage. We
Yeah.
gave it all we had, and we played that song so many times. Both
One
of them.
last thing on the topic of this, but it also leads to the future here. What were some of your favorite guitars that you used back then during that period? And what were, like the amplifier that you mentioned, Fender and Trainer out of Canada. What Fender particular amp did you really?
Strat. I got a Strat
Yeah.
our first tour.
Yeah, and what Fender amp were you using? Do you recall? The Twin.
Yeah.
Any pedals? Straight
It
in.
was really hard. I got a pedal, and it would attract the police. It would
Oh, yeah,
cut
yeah.
through on
Right. Gotcha.
on our wires, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden sounds would emit while we were playing.
Yeah, of course.
So that was
Radio,
hard.
yeah.
That was hard on us. I kind of played with it and not played with it.
And you had you had the red 335 style guitar Gibson. That
See,
was
the thing is, people don't realize I was turning around to my amp and fiddling around during songs.
Yeah.
I was changing my sound
Yeah.
for the section of the song.
Yeah.
I was not relying on pedals so much. I created that sound.
Yeah. There was one amp on stage. I couldn't quite pinpoint what it was. And you were messing with it, and I think you were playing the 335, and it was probably around 1971 on some of the songs. You were on a sound stage or a television studio or something. And that had a great sound with that 335.
Well,
and-
sometimes I chained them. You know what that is?
yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I would chain my Trainer. I probably went into the Twin first and then the Trainer. And then, of course, I would kick in the Leslie.
Yes.
So that's the third sound that
Yeah.
in my arsenal of
Yeah.
what I was going to...
And there was only a few guitar players back then that, used a Leslie.
I don't know why they didn't do it more. Maybe
Yeah.
they didn't have roadies,
Yeah,
It's hard.
it was
it's heavy.
Yeah, it's interesting because my early experiences too is a Fender 410 Super Reverb with a Trainer 140 watt tube amp cranked for the lead tones, and the Fender for the.
So when would you insert that? How would you insert that?
I coupled them together, and I had this guy build a pedal for me so I could A B
Okay,
it.
there you go.
Back then, I had a pedal way.
ABC is the best.
Yeah, that's what I had, an ABC. You could either have one or two or both
I
on.
hope you guys know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
A is one, B is another, and C is both of them.
Both of them, yeah, that was the way to go. And like you were pointing out in the earlier conversation about Richard Perry, you can have any amp in the world. Sure, you could have a small tube amp and crank it, and it would give a certain type of sustain and distortion. But a bigger amp crank, you're going to get the tone and the bloom of the note, and you got to have that, or else.
Well, unless you've got a not a tube amp. What did they have?
Two preamps.
No, not compressors. They had that completely different amp that they were trying to sell for a while. It wasn't tube.
Attenuation.
No.
Attenuator. No.
Yeah, it replaced the tube, or it was a tube and it wasn't a tube. But anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
I tried those, and I mean, you played a note and it wouldn't even last 10 seconds if you tried to let it. It would just like.
Yeah.
It would just dive immediately. Yeah. So I completely stayed away from those. I use tube amps exclusively. Don't even try to put me on a non-tube.
Yes, I hear you.
Because they're crap.
As
far as I'm concerned, they're crap.
How did the Les Paul come into your arsenal?
Well, that's kind of a sad story. I knew the guitar player for Steppenwolf. He was the replacement guitar player, and we did lots of gigs with him. And he called me up in New York. We were on the road. I'll never forget it. We were in New York at a hotel, and he said, "June, would you like to buy my guitar?" And I said, "What?" I said, "Why are you selling that guitar?" He said, "Because I need the money."
Wow.
I was heartbroken, and so was he. And I said, "Well, I don't really want it, but I'll ask our road manager to ask our whoever who wrote the checks.
Yeah.
See if we can afford it." And when we got home, there it was sitting in the living room. And I didn't even touch it for 6 months. His name was Kent Henry.
Okay.
And he was great. Oh, gosh. He had been in, he played that guitar in Ride, Captain Ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
that band.
That's that guitar and him.
Yeah. Wow. Steppenwolf, I know they had that Hammond B3 player that had the real distorted, great sounding Hammond B3 when it went through the distortion there along with the Leslie. I never got to see Steppenwolf back then, but you guys got to work together.
Oh, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, we played with Steppenwolf, Staple Singers. Dr. John was great.
Oh,
you
yes,
know.
of course.
And then later on, we would play with guys like, Jeff Beck. I
Yeah.
mean, that was just another day at the office. I didn't even really think that much of it.
Wow.
And you couldn't put a band on stage with me and have me just go, "Oh, that's incredible," because I didn't prejudge, and if they did the thing and it moved me, then
It had
it
it.
had its job. Yeah, it did its job.
Yeah.
I mean, we even played with Thin Lizzy, and I don't even remember them. We opened up for Slade a whole bunch of times in Europe.
Yeah. Who was your, what was your representorial agency that booked you on these big,
We had a manager who ended up Roy Silver, and he ended up co-founding a booking agency.
oh.
So, we got a lot of great bookings.
So the next step we'll go to is Fanny comes to an end, the journey changes, and you are about to embark upon your evolution as a singer, solo artist, writer, producer.
That took a while.
Yeah.
Because basically I had to strip myself of who I thought I was so I could grow up.
Yeah.
That's what I was so afraid of. I was afraid I was just leaving my own life behind. And so when I left Fanny, it was really hard, really hard. I mean, leaving Jean,
Yeah.
But she understood. And I don't think the rest of the band and management really understood, but she knew what I was going through. And so I moved to a summer house in the winter in Long Island, and I listened to Stevie Wonder a lot and just watched the waves and took walks for about 6 months. Then I ended up in Woodstock. And that really started the re-education of June Millington, because there I started to read Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Shunryu Suzuki. What I was heading towards was Buddhism, more music, and especially women's music, the genre of women's music. The women I met, what I learned about spirituality, what I learned about the souls who were pouring in to a vortex to take part in women's music, and now it's gone. It's amazing. I'm glad I was there.
Yeah. What year did you move to the Catskills up to Woodstock, New York?
74.
74. And how long were you there for?
Off and on to about 79.
Yep. So that's
New
where
Orleans was there.
I remember them. Yeah, I knew.
The Striders were there.
Yeah, Orleans was a great musical
Oh, my
group that didn't get their
God.
due, and their vocals were great.
I watched every gig I could.
Yeah.
I
Did
was
you know-
friends with all of them.
Did you know Jim Weeder?
I don't remember the name. Who's
He
that?
he replaced. He's a great guitar player, Telecaster guy.
Oh.
He replaced Robbie Robertson in the band with Levon Helm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, after Robbie left that structure,
That whole mess.
that whole mess. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that happens.
So then you leave Woodstock. You're exploring spiritual recognition, and you're
Well, first I explored, and then I took the deep dive.
yeah, took the deep dive, and now you are well on your pathway as a explorer of yourself and your writing as a solo artist, and you start recording your own solo records.
Yep.
And endeavors.
But I played with Chris first. Chris Williamson, I met.
Okay. Yes. Sure.
So I played with her from about 76, early 76 was her first tour. And then I started producing other women in women's music. So Mary Watkins, Holly Near, for example, Chris.
Yep.
And that takes me to maybe around 80, 81. And so right after I produced Holly Near's Fire in the Rain, I moved down to LA, and that's when I did Heart Song, which has just been re-released,
Yeah.
which I produced, of course. And so I was very interested in producing records, very interested.
Yeah.
I thought that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life, but life didn't end up that way.
Yeah. What was the most unexpected lesson that you've learned in your various navigations as a performing artist, a songwriter, and a musician? I don't know if that's a proper enough.
What's the first part of that
The
sentence?
first part of that question is, what was the most unexpected lesson that you've learned
okay.
in your vast musical experiences? Is there anything that kind of comes to mind that
Well, there's, I'm trying to think of a central point that works for everything.
Yeah.
I think, you need to know what the goal is, and so it's like you're aiming towards that center, but you can't be too attached or you'll miss it. I think would be my answer.
That's an interesting reply.
Because and that's what I've learned through Buddhism. I remember I did a number of silent retreats with Ruth Dennison, and she really broke me. She made me her special project to break, and I was a wild horse. I needed to be broken, And there's just there were 2 or 3 very simple things that happened with her. The first was I was in Hawaii, my first gig. I did a gig with these women called Sisters of the Strings, and the next day we had lunch together, and there was a woman beside me, and she was just eating. She was in the band. She's very famous now, her name is Millington Trask. She and her sister fought for the people of Hawaii and got a lot of stuff back. Excuse me. So anyway, Millington's eating, and I keep looking at her, and finally I said to her, Millington, what is it about the way you're eating that's so attractive to me? Because I'm like, this is really attracting me. What's going on? And she said, I just got back from a retreat with Ruth Dennison, and she would always make us put food in our mouths for 5 minutes and not chew and observe what happens. And what happens eventually is you're eating your thoughts. When you're eating your thoughts because you're thinking the whole time. But if you're not allowed to eat, then you just sit with your thoughts. That's all that's left. And it's horrible.
Yeah.
So that's basically the first high teaching that I got that was just like that my ancestor sent me that teaching through Millilani. And then I got with the teacher that she was with, and she did several things with me. One was I got there, my first retreat, and I just set my stuff down when I walked into this little cabin, and she comes in about 6 minutes later, and she starts yelling, who put their clothes on who put their bag on the table here? Who is so unthinking that they're, and I'm thinking, oh my God, she's talking about me. And I was so mortified. I realized, yeah, she's right. I don't think about what I'm doing in that sense as I move in the world. She was so she got me. And then one time while we were meditating in the afternoon, we had to get up at 5:30, and we would also have meditations in the afternoon and evening. I rang the bell. Now we're about, 5 or 6 minutes in, and everybody thinks they're getting to their bliss, and I hear her voice. June, stop flitting around in the desire realm. I mean, nailed. So, one last story, one time we got to go out once during retreat. We'd go to a hot pool and sit there, and we're driving, and she says, June, do you see that that's a cloud and not your idea of a cloud? Silence. Nothing. I had to parse that out. I know exactly what she means. I knew exactly what she meant, but I didn't know how to separate it yet.
Yeah.
So she taught me so much.
Yeah. What do you feel at this juncture of time you've come to this page. What do you feel is the most, from taking all of this journey in, what do you feel is the most relevant to preserve and to move on with current work, current material that you're writing and
Well,
expressing?
I would say that I try to protect the girls' freshness as much as possible, because they come in here and they're just like little flowers. They're young. They don't know anything really. And it's really easy to hurt somebody who comes in and they're all so innocent, and you can really hurt them by being unthinking of what you do. And I've done that a couple of nights. I have to really kind of, tighten my girth and just like, what did you just do? Not so often, but a few times, and then I get a chance to make it up to them. But I would say that preserving that innocence and that God-given, and I mean that, God-given talent that they're given, no matter in what area it's in. Maybe it's just making everybody feel good who's around them, and that extends to the music. I feel that's my biggest job, is to, and I didn't learn this right away. It took me a few years. There's like 14 girls and 3 teachers and a number of other people around, and the parents are not allowed to come by. So as we built the studios, we didn't know that this would be a place where the girls would hang out and write and whatever. We can see them; they can see us. We can't hear each other. So it's these studios are the most expensive private.
I want to stop for a second and qualify this or express this. We are now talking about June's more current endeavor, one of her endeavors of many. She runs a facility here in Massachusetts called IMA, Institute for Musical and the Arts, correct?
Institute for the Musical Arts.
Yes. So that's what she's sort of alluding to at this part in the conversation. And expound upon, the various virtues and offerings that you will give a young...
Well, we really try to give the girls everything. I mean, we kind of have a huge agenda. We want to give them information about music and instruments, rhythms, how to play on the one. I mean, that is really important. A lot of girls don't know how to do that. So we try to direct them to all the good practices that you would need in order to do and to listen to music. And of course the girls already, they come in and they have all the stuff that they love.
Yeah.
But they don't know, they're just so young, they haven't been challenged yet, or they don't know how to be diligent and all that kind of stuff.
Are they generally coming, have they been playing their instruments for a few years? They can play?
It can be anything.
Can be anything.
Some of them have never touched an instrument. Some of them just write poetry up until that point. But
Yeah.
when they get together, they start, I call it, and I mentioned this once before, bringing them into their own joy. Because you cannot force a teenage girl to do something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Trust me, you can't do that. Don't try. Don't try, because you'll hurt yourself.
Yeah.
So, how do you get them to follow their own bliss? You have to bring them into their own joy, but it's different for every girl.
Yeah.
So every camp is completely different. Although if we have our major rules, which is don't hurt the girls, teach, but try to find the places where it's possible for them to learn a particular rhythm or a song or whatever.
Yeah.
We do the best we can, and no camp is the same. No camp is the same. These girls are so different from each other. Yeah. And of course, when we started, no cell phones, no internet. Now we've got the parents trying to call and sneak their calls in, which they're not even supposed to talk to their girls.
How long does a camp last for?
Well, preteen is 5 days, which goes fast, and teen is 10.
Okay, yeah. And you've been doing this for?
Since 2001.
Yeah, so good.
Actually, we bought this property in 2001, and we started the camps in 2002. We were going to wait another year, but Sonia Kitchell's mom, Sonia Kitchell?
Of course, sure.
Well, she said, no, you can't wait another year. My daughter needs you right now. You have to start it this summer.
Yeah.
And we'll help you get girls, and we'll help you put up bunks. And she did. She and her husband helped us a lot.
Fantastic.
That first year.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, your facility here, everything about it the warmth, the enchantment, the nature, and the structure is totally vibey and great.
Yeah, we hold it open as a, let's say a golden flower, and
Yeah.
that exists for anything that's good.
Yeah.
Really, we're not into things that make people feel bad here.
Yeah.
Not into it at all. And if we see it start to happen, we're gonna do something about it. Because things can happen. People can get jealous or whatever.
And going on to the last sort of chapter, so to speak, here of today's interview, current, June Millington currently, what's your latest internal expression? What are you working on?
Well, I just released an album
Yeah.
called Home to My Soul, and most of it was recorded right here. Some of it was overdubbed in my nephew's studio in LA, but he worked here a lot. Gene's son. Gene and Earl Slick, by the way.
Earl Slick?
That's a
Yeah.
great combination.
Yeah.
So I love this album. It starts with a song called Fly High. And believe it or not, that one started by my remembering that something really good happened while we were doing Fanny Walk the Earth. And it was on my song, One. And what happened was every time we hit what we knew was going to be where the track was going to start fading on the song, we revved it up and became the Svelts. Literally, we played like the Svelts. Bree plays drums on that like, you don't play like that today. And me, I was just, just having fun and riding the horse. And Gene, of course, was keeping it down. So we had maybe I think I only used 2 takes. I cut it and put them together.
Yeah.
And so oddly enough, the first thing you hear is my slide guitar that is on the outro of One on Fanny Walk the Earth, but
Okay.
it starts this album. And Jean can sing enough where she joined me in the vocals, and at her house I had Lee bring up some equipment.
Nice.
And so it's me, Jean, and Bree essentially, and I had what's his name? He plays with Christine Ullman, organ. Oh my gosh, you know him. He's a very well known figure here. He now works with UMass, plays keyboards.
Not Jeff, no.
What could I do when my love is played with Joe Cocker?
Oh, yes, Mitch Shakur.
Mitch Shakur.
Mitch Shakur.
It took months for him to get me in here. He's so busy. I had to beg. I finally got him.
Yeah.
So he
He's
plays
great.
on it as well. And then there's a song I wrote in 1975 at Chris Williamson's apartment, late 75. That's beautiful. And I never recorded it. We performed it a couple times because I couldn't figure out an ending.
Yeah.
So I just let the ending happen. It just
Yeah.
kind of happen, fade out. There's a Fanny song at the end.
Yeah, cool.
There's a song about
Which Fanny song?
Where You Lead. We had just done it with Barbara Streisand.
It's called what?
Where You Lead. It's a Carole King song. So we were still hot on that session, so we did it a couple of times on the road, and I had a tape of it. There's a song about my dad, who was from Vermont, going down with a Hornet in the Solomon Islands in Midway. He told me stories about that, so there's a great song, great track. It's got a lot of slide guitar. It's really a beautiful song.
Nice.
Then there's a song called Philippine Sand that's about one of my uncles who was the only one that survived the Philippine massacre at the beach. It goes on kind of like that. I'm very proud of this album.
Nice.
Very proud. And if you get it, listen from beginning to end in one shot the first time if you can. Really loud and get the hit.
Yeah.
Because it's a very special hit.
What has teaching all of your young musicians taught you about your own relationship with music? Do you get any
Well,
kind
it has shown me definitely that music is my main connection, and it
Yeah.
is why I'm here. I think what it has taught me is how to learn to be softer, because I'm pretty You know, I made the girls cry a few times without meaning to, you know,
Yeah.
by being kind of pushy or something like that. So
Yeah.
I've learned how to attenuate that quite
Yeah.
a bit. Me and Evelyn Harris used to be really hard on the girls. You know, we had a running kind of who's more mean.
Yeah. So do you go into like construction framework of songwriting and the whole gamut?
My classes, music is a second language. That's the first part of it, and the second part is the foremothers. So I teach them about whose shoulders we're standing on.
Yeah.
I think that's really important that they know. That you black men and women couldn't go out on the road and just eat at any old restaurant or sleep at any old hotel. They'd be shot at. They'd be killed. I bet you a number of them were killed.
Yeah.
You know? So I want them to realize that even though this camp seems hard, they have it so easy.
Yeah, yeah.
They even have electricity in the yurts, for heaven's sake. You
Yeah.
know, they can eat anytime they want, go snack, you know, I mean, with permission. But they have set meals, and they're really treated well. So,
Nice.
but I do want them to know how hard it's been for women,
Yeah.
you know.
Going back to your personal journey as a musician, the last couple of years, let's just say taking a look at the last 3 years, what are the intentions about performing, going out on the road, collaborative things, producing?
It's like this right now because like last year I went on the road with Ruby Ibarra because I was involved in Bakunawa,
Yes.
and she won the 2025 small, what is it? The small little, that contest that NPR puts on.
The Tiny Desk.
Tiny
yeah,
Desk.
yeah.
So I went on that Tiny Desk tour, and the only reason I was able to was Dave Chalpont, thank God, agreed to take over my role in preteen. I mean, excuse me, the first preteen kind, yeah, preteen and then teen. So he was already interfacing with us, but I asked him to take on more so I could do that tour, and I did it. And let me tell you, it changed my life. Because being with Filipinos, number one, and then playing for mostly Filipino audiences
Yeah.
who were rock and funk aficionados, you know.
I love it.
Yeah, it changed my life.
Yeah.
We just played Green River, so
I know.
that was really neat.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I think we've touched on a lot of topicals here with June Millington today, and it's been very insightful and colorful, and some great statements made by her that should be all even framed up and
Maybe we'll do that.
Maybe
we'll
they're
do that.
slogans, you know. I guess this is the end of the interview.
Well, let me
Well,
just
yeah,
say,
yes,
as a last word, I think it's really important that no matter how you find your path to it, be true to yourself, because that's the only thing that works, you know. You might try to leave that path for a bit and be maybe a little successful, but then you'll just find yourself stumbling or slapped down by something, because you need to have that, you know, sort of that rope that you're holding on to the whole time when you're learning how to be true to yourself and be an authentic human being. And that's what I was doing when I left Fanny. I didn't know it. I was so frightened. I was frightened because I knew I wasn't I didn't even have the phrase authentic human being.
yeah.
I just knew I had to go after it and find myself. So I encourage you all to think about that and consider that, you know, with every breath you take.
Wow. How about that? And you know, we could put. That's the ending point, what she just said. But you know what I was about to say to you before you went into it, kind of very interesting. Have you ever turned down any opportunities that looked great and sounded great and were great on paper, but you knew didn't fit your personal vision? And what you're talking about is being true to your authentic self.
Yeah. I don't think I have turned down it because, I mean, they wouldn't even come near me because they'd feel the vibe. Do not enter. Do not enter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Wow, it was
Appreciate
really,
it.
really, really great hearing your words, and you have incredibly beautiful, wonderful stories. Just
Thank
great
you.
stuff,
Thank you.
And yeah, so we're done.
Okay.
Yay!